Don't be bragging about your credit score. Throughout this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why you shouldn't even try to have a credit score, and least of all, why you should be bragging about a good credit score. First, we have to understand what a credit score even is. The credit score is a numerical rating representing the perceived ability of a person or organization to fulfill their financial commitments based on analysis of their credit history and current financial circumstances. So how did the credit score actually come to be in the first place? Well, that's a very good question, and it dates all the way back to 1841 when the commercial credit reporting started with Mercantile Agency. It was founded by one of the earliest commercial credit reporting agencies. Correspondents collected information about lenders, borrowers across the country. This, of course, had to do with their age, their background, their ethnicity, and their credit history as well. And the information was all centralized in New York City. The problem with this was it wasn't technically morally right, because at that particular time, it was more based off of your appearance, such as your ethnic group, and of course your age, which those two factors as well as gender were the biggest factors to why certain people were not even getting the credit they deserved, regardless of their credit history. So in the 19th century, the consumer credit reporting emerges, is what we kind of know more today. And this was to, of course, kind of put a clamp down on not having equality against age, gender, and ethnic groups. And this was able to put a little bit more installment of the credit score into what we know today as well, because it also was changing some of the ways that we could get furniture, we could get drugs over the counter, and do loans. And then in the 1960s is the birth of the credit score. And this is when things really started to take off, because there was a huge influx of credit bureaus, all the way to 2,000 credit bureaus across the United States, which quickly fell over the next 2 decades. And now we have 3 major credit bureaus, which is Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. These are the most dominating ones currently in America. The credit score ranges from 300 to 850. 300 being at an all-time low, 850 being the best credit score that you can have. Now, this raises the question of, why did those numbers get chose? Why was it not a number between like 1 and 100? And this is actually because they wanted to make it as diverse as possible, and they wanted to make sure that there was still numbers that were lower than the 300 that you can't technically get, so to speak. But the 300 to 850 range is where you can still get loans, but of course you can still get denied within those ranges. If you're closer to 300, you're more than likely going to get denied for a lot of loans compared to if you're closer to the 850 range. This was introduced in 1950, and it was known as FICO score. Credit scores can be good and are almost essential to today's world, only because of the way society has built them up. In today's inflation, you can't get anything almost without taking a loan or having some credit in order to do it. And we all have to live basically above our means, it seems like, to get anything, and especially the housing market where it's at currently. Now, of course, when it comes to certain needs and certain wants, such as maybe buying a car that you don't actually need, and maybe that's not the greatest idea to get credit for. But of course, buying a house, as long as it's still within your reasons of being able to pay it off, even though you are going in debt doing it, can be a little bit more agreeable. The problem is with credit is that at the end of the day, you're paying more money to a corporate business, and that's leaving your pocket. So that same item that you could have spent $1,000 on if you would have been patient and would have saved up your money is now going to cost significantly more, because you're going to have interest on it because you have credit and you had to take a loan on it. So it makes that same item cost way more. You're losing more money, and it's actually making corporate businesses more money in the long run. This is why they incentivize that you get a credit score, and that's why it's almost essential in today's world, because it's just generating them more money. But at the end of the day, it's really not good to have a credit score. If you can actually live your whole entire life without taking any credit at all, this would be the most ideal way to live. The problem is when you do need to take a loan and you have no history at all of ever taking a loan and have no credit at all, then of course companies are going to look at this and go, well, we don't really want to give you that loan, which is understandable. And that's why it makes it almost essential, even though it really shouldn't be. They need to have a little bit of credit score backing up in order to know that you're going to pay off this debt. The best way to do this is, of course, putting your phone bill on a credit card, and then every month just paying with the credit card and then paying that credit card off. And then by the end of the year, you can actually build up a good credit and you can be done without having to go in significant debt. And then hopefully you'll have a good enough credit to get the actual item that you want. But at the end of the day, it's best if you try to avoid going in debt at all. The credit card debt is actually absurd and kind of destroying the economy all across the globe. So right now in the US, nearly 82% of Americans as of 2021 had a credit card, and the average American at the time had nearly 4 credit cards. And then globally in 2021, nearly 23% of the entire population from the ages of 15 and older had a credit card in their possession, with Canada leading the charge at 83% of their population having credit, and Afghanistan at 0% at an all-time low. Of course, this has sparked the silent debt crisis at the end of 2023 for a lot of developing economies across the globe. This is very detrimental at an individual level because, of course, as earlier mentioned, you're losing more money by paying more money for your credit card and your debt for the same item. But this is, of course, collapsing the economy long term, but it's good short term, of course, for the businesses because they're making more money from you. This is why I say at the end of the day, try to avoid taking a loan at all costs. It's not good for the economy, and it's definitely not good for you. If you want to know how to save money and actually make money, you can check out this video over here.